Do you trust the governor of Illinois to make this appointment? Pat, you're a citizen of the state of Illinois. You live here in Chicago. Do you trust this governor to make a good choice for the Senate, which is so important?
I am a citizen of Illinois, and I do have opinions and beliefs. And what they are from me, because when I speak on behalf of that seal, and that seal has no opinion on that matter. And the back, yes.
Could you just confirm, so as the investigation continues, there could be additional count added against these defendants?
What we'll simply say is the investigation continues. We're not going to predict that other charges will or will not be filed. Yes.
You spoke before about if Senator, and you didn't know the awareness that Senator or President-elect Barack Obama knew about this. So is it safe to say he has not been briefed? And can you also tell us if any phone calls were made to President-elect Obama that you intercepted or to Ron Emanuel?
And I'm not going to go down anything that's not in the complaint. And what I simply said before is I have enough trouble speaking for myself. I'm never going to try and speak in the voice of a president or a president-elect. So I simply pointed out that you look at the complaint, there's no allegation that the president-elect, there's no reference in the complaint to any conversations involving the president-elect or indicating that the president-elect is aware of it, and that's all I can say.
What will be your position at this afternoon's hearing on detention or bond for the governor?
I don't expect there's going to be a contentious issue about bond, but we'll Magistrate Judge Nan Nolan will be handling that proceeding. I think she can hear the specifics from us for the first time in court, but
you won't oppose his release on bond.
I think Judge Nolan should hear what our position is, not through your excellent reporting, but through our assistants telling him what it is.
How would you categorize this alleged read compared to other things that you've seen? How would you categorize this?
I'm not going to go beyond saying that the conduct we think is appalling. I'm not going to do a comparative to other cases, but I just think it's very, very disturbing that we have these pay-to-play allegations going on for years. They picked up steam after a conviction. They picked up steam after an ethics in government act, and then it goes so far as to taint the process by which the governor and his inner circle of advisors were choosing someone to take a seat in the United States Senate to represent Illinois.
Mr. Fizgerald,
you quote the governor's wife. Said that Senate candidate number 5 took herself out of the running after this was made apparent to her. Can we gather that as Congressman Jan Schakowsky?
I'm not going to confirm or deny any names with numbers. I just can't.
You do name the governor's wife in this, and you quote her in the charges. Can you recount for us what she said and what her role was as is laid out in the charge?
Since I won't quote it accurately, there's a paragraph, I believe, that describes a situation in which she describes the interaction between the Tribune, who owns the Cubs, and the editorial board, and she is part of the conversation with the governor and others making suggestions as to what should happen. There may be another reference or two in the complaint, and since I can't follow them up with precision, and I don't want to start reading the complaint in front of all of you, I think I'll just leave you to looking at the complaint.
Well, she says what the governor had charged with. Why wouldn't she be charged if she's saying the same thing?
I'm not going to comment on anyone not charged. Simply saying that there's a description of a conversation that took place in the complaint.
Mr. Fizgerald, did you have a conversation with the Attorney General or somebody close to him, either regarding the ability of you to get the wiretaps on the campaign office on the home, or about the decision to file this complaint?
I will say this. One, when it comes to wiretaps and bugs, I think the procedure we follow is well known. To file a wiretap, first of all, you need the FBI, Boston, Chicago, those people are doing all the work to be on board. You need my office to be on board. That gets you nowhere. You have to go down to Washington to Office of Enforcement Operations, OEO, and you probably never heard of OEO, and you'll see CSI on TV, and the people in OEO do a fantastic job. They're the people who review, among other things, applications for wiretaps and bugs, and they scrub them, and they're very smart, and what we like about OEO is they know how to say yes, and they know how to say no. And if they don't think it meets the standards, they'll tell you that, and you won't get your wiretap or bug. If they think it does, they'll say yes. If it needs fixing, they fix it. And after it is approved in the office of OEO, it then goes up through the chain to high-ranking officials in the criminal division who sign off on it. And once it's been signed off at Main Justice, which says you're allowed to go see it, you're still nowhere because you can't put a bug or a wiretap in without the approval of the chief judge in the district. The chief judge takes an independent review and signs off on it. We complied with all that, obviously. Beyond that, what I'll simply say is that no one, the Deputy Attorney General, the FBI Director, or the Attorney General aren't going to throughout their coffee this morning to find out about this case for the first time. We've obviously kept them briefed, but beyond that, we'll take responsibility for the decisions we made and leave it at that.
Yesterday, I have a question, if you could also just clarify again. Is discussing a quid pro quo where he, acted criminally versus actually carrying it out? I mean, if he's just having conversations about eliminating a member of the editorial board of the Chicago Tribune, but nothing is actually carried out, how much of that is just someone trying to be a tough guy, and how much of that is criminal behavior?
Well, you hit on two questions. One is a legal distinction. There's scheming or conspiracy to commit a crime, and then there's a substantive crime. We've charged conspiracy or scheming in this complaint. One of the things we want to do with this investigation is to track out the different schemes, conspiracies, to find out which ones were carried out or not, and who might be involved in that or not. And that's something we haven't done yet. Now that we've gone overt, we'll be interviewing people and figuring that out. But it is a crime in and of itself for people to scheme to violate the law. That's called conspiracy. Then there's a substantive crime. As far as how much, whether or not there are people acting like a tough guy or not, I mean, I don't want to pre-try the case, but if you lean on someone and lead them to believe their bill is not getting signed unless they give you the money, that is what acting like a tough guy is. It's a crime. And we can sort through it at any trial as to what was said, what was followed through. But it is a crime to conspire to shake someone down.
Yesterday, when asked about the bug, Governor Blagojevich.
Is the governor being held in jail at the moment?
I believe he's probably somewhere in the building, and he'll be presented in front of Judge Miller.
Yesterday, when asking about the taping, the governor said that he invoked the names Nixon and Watergate. I mean, isn't essentially what the government did here under the authority of a wiretap court order the same thing? Didn't FBI agents have to break into the governor's office in order to find these?
And I'm not going to compare FBI agents enforcing the law, trying to stop a senator from auctioning off a Senate seat, or shutting $8 million out of a children's hospital from being pulled back, or stopping people for greasing the skids to get a bill, or get someone fired with Nixon. It doesn't fly. What we did was awful. Yes?
Sir, just to be crystal clear on this point, you're not aware of any conversations then that took place between the governor and any member of Barack Obama's transition team at all?
And what I simply said is, read the complaint. I'm not going to sit here with a 76-page complaint and parse through it. That's all we're alleging. And I'm not going to start going down and saying, did anyone ever talk to anyone? You can read what we allege in the complaint. It's pretty detailed. Look at the 76 pages, and if you don't see it, it's not there.
You talked about keeping your superiors informed as to what was going on, assuming that means the Attorney General. In the briefings that President-elect Obama has had over the past weeks with various government departments, would it be possible for him to have been briefed on what was going on here with regard to this investigation? Possible.
I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not the briefer. I'm not at those meetings. But I can simply say that this was very close hold in Washington and on a need-to-know basis. So, but I'm not the briefer, so I'm not going to represent what happens. But I'll leave it at that.
Will you quantify the number of calls that you've gotten?
After Carol, we'll go through a ring around the back.
You said that this morning you've already gotten calls that were heartening. Can you assign a number to that in terms of meaningful individuals that you're really searching for as this thing goes forward fast?
I'll just say that, I'm not going to describe who it was or what it was, but someone reported in as to a conversation, and I felt very, very happy. It was just sort of like, okay, good. That one sort of brought it home. I've tried to speak at times about telling people that, you look to the FBI to do a lot, you look to law enforcement to do a lot, but the real effort to clean up corruption is going to start with the citizenry. People who are going to speak up and say something when it's wrong. And when you reach out to contact someone to say, do you know anything? And they say, oh boy, do I. And let me tell you what I know, and I remember details. That tells you that there are people out there who are pretty damn angry and are willing to step up at the plate and say, I'm not going to complain about it, I'm going to do something about it. Now we'll go to the back. Yes?
Pat, one of the things I think that people out there look at is they go, the governor has known he's been under investigation for several years now. And yet he would still engage, allegedly, in this kind of activity. What does it say about the audacity of the governor to do this while he's under investigation and knows it?
I'll leave that for you to draw your own conclusions. It's a pretty audacious set of conversations set forth in the complaint and the circumstances. In the back? Yes.
Which union did the governor solicit in exchange for the Senate appointment?
I think it's laid out in the complaint that it's that the person he discussed, the union.